Welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make your basic bodice pattern, which is essentially your fundamental for every sewing enthusiast. Now, this method gives me major props as I've never had any problem with it, and I've sold various things for my friends and family using this method. I also find it very easy to incorporate manipulations from different sewing gurus, so I hope you find it as versatile as I do. Now, with this method, you'll be incorporating your front and back bodice on the same sheet of paper, so it's pretty fast and easy to do. It's also very easy when you just need to see the finished product in one glance. I also made a video of how to take measurements, so be sure to check that out. I'll also leave a link of that in the description box below. Now go ahead and grab all your grabbables and let's get started. But before we do, have a look at the subscription box below and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Give this video a like if you want to see more videos like this from me. Also, drop me a comment or two down below. Let me know if you have any questions or two. Alright then, so without talking too much, let's get started. My name is Ejoma and welcome to my sewing diary. We'll be covering the following patterns in this video: the darted no ease pattern, the darted ease pattern, and a dartless no ease pattern. Now they all have similar steps with only tiny differences. So by the end of making the patterns, I will then show you how to easily trace your patterns for manipulation. The materials you will need are your pattern paper, measuring tape, protractor or 90-degree ruler, tracer wheel, pen, pencil or marker, curved ruler, short ruler, long ruler, completed measurement sheet, as well as a calculator. Now I will also write these down in the description box below and also include the exact measurements that you'll be needing. We'll be starting with a darted no ease pattern and we'll replicate steps for the dartless and ease patterns as we go along. This method of pattern making for your basic bodice incorporates your front and back pattern in one sheet of paper. The left hand side will be your back and the right hand side your front. So start by measuring 2 inches in from the top of your paper and rule across. Label this your top line. From the top line, mark downwards your full front length measurement and rule across your paper. Label this your waistline. From your waistline, measure down 8 inches and rule across the paper. Label this your hip line. On the left hand side of your waistline, mark upwards your nape to waist measurement and rule across to about half your paper's width. Label this your nape line. Measure up from your waistline the value of half your nape to waist measurement minus 1 and rule across your paper. On the right hand side of this line, label this your bust line, and on the left hand side, label this your underarm line. At this point, repeat all steps done so far on another pattern paper and set aside for your dartless basic bodice. Going back to your initial pattern, from your bust line on the right hand side, mark up the value of the difference between your full front length and your nape to waist measurement, and then rule across to about half your paper's width. Label this your front underarm line. Mark up 2 inches from your front underarm line on the right hand side and rule across to about half your paper's width. Label this your across chest line. On the left hand side, mark the value of half the distance between your nape line and your underarm line and rule across to about half your paper's width. Label this your across back line. On your left hand side, mark 1¼ inches down from your nape line and rule across to about half your paper's width. Label this your back shoulder line. On your right hand side, mark 1½ inches down from the top line and rule across to about half your paper's width. Label this your front shoulder line. So it's time for a little calculation. I like to do all my calculations at the bottom of my patterns for easy referral. I always make a little box at the bottom to do this. Now we will be starting with the neck width. To calculate your neck width, first divide your bust circumference by 8, add 1, and then divide the total by 2. So I use my bust circumference of 36.75 divided by 8 plus 1 divided by 2 to give me my neck width of 2.672. Starting from the edge of your paper on your nape line, mark out your neck width and then mark 6/8 inch up from that point. Connect the 6/8 mark to the point below with a line. On the right hand side, mark your neck width length in from the edge of the paper on your top line. Also mark your neck width length plus 3/8 inch down the length of the paper. Connect points with a square like so. Starting from your left hand side, write down all your measurements like so and do the same for the long lines. You'll be dividing all half lines by 2 and all long lines by 4. Mark the corresponding values on each line, and on the underarm line, mark your across back and bust measurements. Do the same thing to the short lines on the right hand side. On the front underarm line, you'll be dividing your bust measurement by 4. Mark the corresponding values on the lines. You'll be marking your across chest value and your bust value on your front underarm line. Do not make any marking on the bust line, and then mark your waist and hip values on the right hand side. Starting on your left hand side, connect the 6/8 mark to your back shoulder mark, your back shoulder mark to your across back mark, your across back mark to the across back mark on your underarm line, your bust mark on your underarm line to your waist mark, and your waist mark to your hip mark. On your right hand side, I started from the bottom up to connect your hip mark to your waist mark to your bust mark on your front underarm line, your across chest mark on your front underarm line to the across chest mark above, your across chest mark to the front shoulder mark, and your front shoulder mark to the neck width on the top line. After connecting all points, you might need to add ease. I'll be showing you how to draft your basic bodice pattern with and without ease. So go ahead and repeat all steps up until this point on another pattern paper and set aside. Continuing with your no ease pattern, calculate your front and back center dart lines. For your back center dart line, this will be your across back measurement divided by 4. And for your front, this will be your bust span measurement divided by 2. On the left hand side, starting from the edge of the paper, mark your back center dart line measurement on the underarm line, waistline, and hip line. On the right hand side, first measure your bust point down from your neck point like so. Mine was 10 inches. And then from the edge of the paper, mark your front center dart line measurements to pass this point. Then also mark your front center dart line measurement on your waist and hip line. Connect these points with a straight line on your left and right hand side. On both sides, connect your bust mark to your hip mark with a straight line. We'll call this the ease line. On both sides, measure the distance between your waist mark and where the ease line touches the waistline. Add these together and calculate your waist reduction or dart distance by dividing the value of your addition by 6. Your waist reduction value will be used to draw the darts and redraw the side lines. So mark your waist reduction on each side of your center dart line on the waistline, and also mark this distance in from where the ease line touches the waistline. Do the same thing on the right hand side. Go up 2 inches from the bottom of your center dart lines on both sides and connect all points like so to create your waist dart. For your new side lines, connect the bust point to the new waist point and the new waist point to a point 2 inches up from the bottom of your ease line. Do this on the right hand side as well. To create your bust dart on the right hand side, starting from the bust mark, go down 2 inches on your new side line and further mark down the difference between your full front length and your nape to waist measurements from the 2-inch mark. Connect these points to your bust point and take note of the distance between your bust mark and new waist mark on the left hand side. Redraw your side line on the right hand side by first folding your bottom bust dart to touch the top. You'll need to maneuver the paper by bending and shifting to achieve this. This will cause your pattern paper to curve upwards on the edge of the right hand side. And then connect your bust mark to your new waist mark with a straight line. The line connecting the bust mark to the new waist mark when you have folded your bust dart should be the same length as that of the left hand side noted earlier. Use your tracer wheel to go over the folded paper at the bust dart fold. Release the fold and draw out the outline of your trace mark. I like to also draw out the middle bust dart line. Extend the bust dart where needed to your new side line. To draw your necklines, starting from the left hand side, mark a 1/2 inch mark from the edge of the paper on the nape line and connect this point to the 6/8 mark. On the right hand side, starting from your neck point, go down 1/2 inch and also go in 1/2 inch at the bottom of the square and connect both points with your curved ruler. To draw your armhole curve, starting from the left hand side, measure half the distance between your back shoulder mark and your across back mark and go in 1/8 inch. I made a mistake before, but showing the correct clip here. Go down 1/2 inch on your across back mark and then measure the distance between your bust mark and your across back mark on your underarm line and divide this by 2. So mark a 45-degree line from the across back mark on the underarm line and then mark out the measurement you just calculated on this line, marking up another 3/8 inch from the initial mark. Connect all points like so using your curved ruler and ending at your bust mark. Now, because of our different body types, please note that all armholes will not necessarily look alike, so don't be worried if yours does not look exactly like mine, just as long as it forms a C-ish shape when you're done. For the front armhole on the right hand side, you will be dividing the distance between your across chest mark and bust mark on the front underarm line by 4. So mark your 45-degree line from the across chest mark on the front underarm line and mark out the measurement you just calculated on that line, marking up another 3/8 inch from the initial mark. Mark half the distance between the front shoulder mark and the across chest mark and go in by 3/8 inch from this point. Connect all points with your curved ruler, ending at your bust mark. You will need to incorporate a shoulder dart to the left-hand side, as the back shoulder will be longer than the front. Now the shoulder dart will take care of this excess so that the front and back shoulder length will be the same when sewing. So measure your back and front shoulder length. Subtract the front shoulder length from the back shoulder length to get the amount you need to take off from the back shoulder. You'll be distributing this number in a dart, so divide it further by 2. Mark half your back shoulder on your shoulder line on the left-hand side and draw a 90-degree line down. Extend this line to 3 inches and then mark the divided excess on each part of this line and connect to the 3-inch mark below to form a dart. Fold the bottom dart leg over the top like so and redraw the shoulder line. Measure this new line. It should be the same length as the front shoulder on the right hand side. Use your tracer wheel to trace the fold and release the fold when you're done. Trace out the outline made by the tracer wheel. You will need to curve your new hip line, so mark a point halfway on your new hip line and go out by 1/8 inch, connecting this point to your new waist and hip mark with your curved ruler like so. Do the same on both sides of the pattern. So now you have your complete no ease darted basic bodice pattern done. Now to complete your ease pattern, I'll be adding a 2-1-2 ease. This simply means that I'll be adding 2 inches to the bust, 1 inch to the waist, and 2 inches to the hips. The only difference between the ease and the no ease pattern is with regards to the ease line and the waist reduction. So I'll show you the difference in these two, and then every other process is the same. Divide each of your ease ratio by 4 because you'll be distributing it on a quarter of your pattern. The ratio signifies your bust, waist, and hip. So starting from the right hand side, mark your corresponding divided value from your bust mark on the front underarm line for the bust, from your waist mark on the waistline for your waist, and from your hip mark on the hip line for your hip. Repeat the same thing on the left hand side as well. Connect the new bust mark to the new hip mark on both sides to form your ease line. Measure the distance between your new waistline and the point where your ease line touches the waistline on both sides and add together, dividing the added value by 6 to get your waist reduction as you did previously. Distribute this measurement on your center dart legs and side as you did before, and continue every other step until the end as you did before. And now you have completed your ease darted basic bodice pattern. Next, we'll be creating the dartless bodice pattern. Recall we had already created the foundation for this. Now the difference between a darted and a dartless pattern making is the absence of the front underarm line on the right hand side of the dartless pattern. Because you've not included this, the front and back sides will be the same length, and hence there will not be a need for a bust dart. Dartless patterns are usually foundation for shirts, jackets, and a few other things. On the right hand side, mark 2 inches up from your bust line and roll across half the width of your paper. This is your across chest line. Proceed to all other steps as you did the no ease if you do not want to add any ease, or ease pattern if you want to include ease. Now there will be no need to include the bust dart as it will not be necessary since the front and back side lengths are the same. So skip only that step. Carry on till you get to the end. And now you have completed your no ease dartless basic bodice pattern. So there you have it, all patterns completed. Time to rule the world. Well, not really. So you'll need to trace your patterns to manipulate them into a design you want. Now you do not want to always go through the process of making a pattern from scratch every single time you want to sew something. So for this next part, I'll be showing you how to trace your pattern. I like to trace on more than one paper so that I have them readily available whenever I need to make something. So go ahead and pin more than one paper together on all 4 sides. Draw a 1-inch line in from the edge of the left-hand side of your paper down the length of your paper. This will be your zipper allowance for the back. It's just a lot easier to include it while tracing. Place your back pattern on the 1-inch line so that the edge is on the same line and pin in place. Now with your tracer wheel, go over your main pattern like so, making sure you capture your hip line, your side lines, your waistline, your waist dart, your armhole, your shoulder dart, your shoulder line, your neckline, as well as your across back and underarm line. When you're done, run your hands at the bottom of the papers to make sure that you can feel puncture holes from all the areas you've just traced. If you can't feel puncture holes anywhere, go over and trace them again. Unpin the bodies and make sure to trace your 1-inch line so that it reflects throughout the papers. When you're done, pin the front at the right edge of your papers, matching edges together, and trace as you did the back, this time including the bust dart. Remove pins once you have affirmed that all puncture holes are reflected underneath, and go over the puncture holes with your pen, pencil or marker on each paper. And there you have it, your traced basic bodies, ready to take on manipulations. Make sure to check out my videos on how I have manipulated the basic bodies to create various styles. Until next time, see you then, bye!